This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
He may not be able to vote in future elections. Note the irony of that.
Imagine standing in 90-mile-an-hour gusts of wind by a bonfire.
What I would give to do dishes in our own house.
Why was there no water in the hydrants, Governor?
The region just doesn't have the equipment to clear it all off.
When tragedy strikes, we turn to our faith.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. The decision is in. For the first time in U.S. history, a president-elect will take office as a convicted felon.
A terrible moment for the New York legal system.
Donald Trump, 10 days from his inauguration, was sentenced this morning on 34 counts of falsifying business records in his hush money case. A defiant Trump told Judge Juan Marchand the charges are false, and America agrees with him.
It was done to damage my reputation so that I'd lose the election, and obviously that didn't work. The people of our country got to see this firsthand because they watched the case in your courtroom, and then they voted, and I got the largest number of votes by far of any Republican candidate in history, and won all 7 swing states, and won the popular vote by millions and millions of votes, and they've been watching your trial.
No prison time and no fine. Trump says he will appeal. The U.S. Supreme Court is expected to have the final say, but some analysts say the damage has been done.
That is going to be on his criminal record unless he is successful at appealing, and so this will hang over him.
Fox News legal scholar Trey Gowdy.
There are collateral consequences of being a convicted felon. He may not be able to vote in future elections. Note the irony of that. He also can't possess a firearm.
Legal pundit Jonathan Turley says it's not as bad as it appears.
One of the greatest advantages that he had during this election was this trial. When he was under this gag order and couldn't say anything, he said a great deal. The public did not like it. This is the type of thing they see in other countries where the legal system has been weaponized against political opponents. That did resonate with the public. They did view this case as lawfare.
In the Golden State, the Palisades fire in Los Angeles is just 8% contained.
Imagine standing in 90-mile-an-hour gusts of wind by a bonfire. How do you contain that? Embers were being picked up and flown hundreds of yards, even miles.
This is what it's like in the fire zone.
That's molten metal that was rolling down the bluff.
What I would give to do dishes in our own house. Things that you take for granted. All the life that we built here.
We didn't even know where we were 1 block from our house.
2,000 firefighters are stretched across the front lines. Some have no water.
We have dead hydrants, so we've been having to go back to Sunset Boulevard to get water to come all the way out here.
Anger is growing. Governor Gavin Newsom cornered by residents in Palisades.
Why was there no water in the hydrants, Governor?
That's all, literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
It has to be.
10,000 structures burned to the ground, 10 people dead, 34,000 acres burned, and 153,000 people under evacuation orders. The cause of the fires still unknown. Family Life has partnered with Christian organizations providing relief to the fire disaster areas. Check out the list at familylife.org/relief. The U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments today on whether TikTok should be banned in the U.S. TikTok creators begged to keep the app. Justice Brett Kavanaugh.
Just on the data collection, that seems like a huge concern for the future of the country.
Even if all this act goes into effect and the law goes through, TikTok gets to keep all the data.
It's not looking favorable for TikTok in the courtroom. Snow and ice is slamming the deep south. South Carolina just got its first measurable snow in 1,100 days. Georgia just logged half a foot of snow, and it's still coming down.
The biggest concern is people potentially getting stuck out on roadways. The region just doesn't have the equipment, the infrastructure to clear it all off.
Georgia Governor Brian Kemp is urging people to stay off the road.
Local warming stations have been activated as well, and we'll certainly continue to monitor and respond as needed throughout this weather event.
4 people were injured when a Delta jet aborted its takeoff from Atlanta because of an engine problem. 200 people were on board. They had to ride down inflatable slides to a snowy runway back to the terminal. The December jobs report was unexpectedly strong. Employers adding 256,000 jobs. Business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
The unemployment rate remained fairly steady at 4.1%. 5%. We've been in a tight range of 4 to 4.3% over the last few months.
GameStop is closing up shop at most of its stores in upstate New York. Family Life's Mark Webster tells us why.
Yeah, the new and used video game store is closing locations in Hornell, Painted Post, Camillus, Clay, Oneida, and Oswego. GameStop has struggled to compete with increased competition from online retailers and streaming gaming options, closing 700 stores over the past 5 years. Mark Webster, Family Life News.
The 2025 legislative session is off and running in Pennsylvania. Northern Tier Representative Clint Owlett says this could be the year his school choice bill becomes law.
Love to see that come up for a vote in the House. It's passed in the Senate and make it to the governor's desk.
Owlett, speaking to the Family Life newsroom today, said under the bill, K-12 kids who attended a low-achieving public school would be eligible to get a scholarship to switch districts. And some do-gooders in Western New York are reaching out to the less fortunate this winter. Dee Haley has more from Family Life's Buffalo newsroom.
A community project called 716 Giving Trees is helping people stay warm this winter with donation trees in Kenmore and the Elmwood Village. The Giving Trees project outfits neighborhood trees with winter essentials like hats, gloves, scarves, and socks, free for those who need them, funded by community donations and partners. Dee Haley, Family Life News.
Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, legalization of recreational marijuana in Pennsylvania and lowering the cost of living in the Empire State. Our Capital Connection crew breaks it down after weather with Kevin Williams.
The storm system bringing snow and ice to portions of the southern states will be grazing our area tonight into tomorrow with some light snow. Then the skies will break for a little sun with some scattered flurries on Sunday with more moderate temperatures than we have seen of late. Generally, it's a dusting to a couple inches across the board, 2 to 4 inches over the western Twin Tiers. Please use care traveling. Low temperatures tonight, mid-teens and mid-20s. High temperatures Saturday, mid-20s to mid-30s. Sunday, leftover clouds and a flurry with a high in the 30s.
Thank you, Kevin. Next at 5, our own Bob Price sat down with the Capital Connection crew to get the latest happenings in Harrisburg and Albany. It's just starting to heat up with everyone back from winter break. Let's listen in.
They're back in business in Harrisburg, Michael. The start of the 2025 legislative session kicked off this week. What are the policy issues that you will be keeping a close eye on?
Legalization of so-called recreational marijuana is on the docket, and it's something that we strongly oppose at Pennsylvania Family Institute. It's corrosive to family, society, safety, et cetera, so we'll be fighting that. The life issue is going to be of prime concern because we still have Democrat control in the House of Representatives, and they have shown themselves interested in pushing expansion of abortion in Pennsylvania, so we'll be fighting that. On the positive side, we do think that real gains can be made on the issue of school choice here in Pennsylvania. We have a good program, a tax credit program, but we'd like it to go further, to have the money follow the child so that every family gets a choice on where their children are educated.
Yeah, and they're back at work as well in Albany, Jason. Got to ask you, you're going to see more cultural war type stuff or bread and butter issues?
You will see those bread and butter issues. For example, the governor is now proposing a $1,000 child tax credit. That's a huge turnaround from just a few years ago. Our organization has advocated for an increase in the child tax credit. Now we'll be watching the details to see what that looks like, to see if we can maintain support for the governor's proposal. We do want a tax credit, not another form of a welfare support system, though. Mm-hmm. On the other side, though, I think that there was a recent, just a brutal assault and killing of an inmate in upstate New York. That is probably going to move criminal justice type reform issues becoming front and center again in Albany.
Planned Parenthood's efforts to infiltrate school board elections this year in Pennsylvania. Why is Planned Parenthood getting involved with education at the local level like this?
Well, I hope everybody asks themselves that question when you see Planned Parenthood, which is the nation's largest abortion organization, but also is involved in puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones behind the transgender ideology. Everybody should be asking, why does Planned Parenthood have their target on their kids? And getting involved in school board elections and supporting candidates They're looking to do that, from what we understand, across the state to engage. That's because school boards serve as the gatekeepers. And so when Planned Parenthood wants to get their explicit sex education programs in or put in school-based health clinics, those sorts of things, they want this control of the school board so they can grease the skids to get what they want in the schools and target our children.
You predicted, just like it was with abortion when Roe v. Wade was overturned, that New York will become a safe haven for minors from other states and doctors who perform these controversial procedures as well, that they would find a friend in the state of New York. How is the Empire State laying the groundwork for this to happen?
Well, we have doctors that are mailing abortion-type pills into other states. Now that will be likely tested in the court system to see whether or not that's going to be allowed to continue. Mm-hmm. We're also seeing, because of the direct flights from places like Florida to New York, we find that many people are flying from Florida to New York to have their abortions. So we are seeing that is happening. We are becoming the destination for abortions really across the country.
A lot's happening this month in our nation's capital. Of course, we've got the inauguration of Donald Trump on Monday, January 20th. But later that week, Michael, is the National March for Life in Washington. And you've been a proud partner of that for a lot of years. Tell our listeners how they can hitch a ride if they so desire.
Well, historically, Pennsylvania has sent the most people to the March for Life of any state, and part of that is our proximity to Washington, D.C. It's not that far, but also it indicates the pro-life sentiment that exists in our state. So there are buses going from across the state, and we would have that information on our website about the different buses. But then we at Pennsylvania Family Institute are sponsoring a bus that's leaving from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and then stopping and picking up people in York, Pennsylvania as well on its way to D.C. for the National March for Life. We're charging $10 per person, so it's subsidized. It's a very inexpensive way to go down to the National March for Life. And so people can find out more about that at our website at pafamily.org.
You can subscribe, listen to, and share Capital Connection and the 5 o'clock report and all of Family Life's original podcasts at Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, or at familylife.org. Time next for tonight's market report, brought to you by Faithward Advisors. Markets were down today. The Dow decreased 697 points, ending at 41,938. The Nasdaq fell 317 points, ending at 19,161. And the S&P was down 91 points to 5827. Faithward Advisors is a Christian financial planning firm online at faithwardadvisors.com.
A financial warning sign is flashing. Hi, I'm Rob West with a Faith and Finance Minute. Today, more and more households than ever are relying on credit cards to make ends meet. Of course, it's not entirely accurate to say that using credit is helping them make ends meet. The ends are not meeting. That's the problem. Now, I realize it's quite tempting and easy to use a credit card to cover the gap between income and outgo, but it's also dangerous. More debt will create even greater financial pressure. So let me encourage you. If you increasingly rely on credit cards, examine every line item in your budget and find categories to economize. Cutting spending may not be easy, but in the long run, it's far better than going deeper into debt. Discover the best Christian financial articles, podcasts, and videos by visiting our website, faithfi.com, or by downloading FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store.
Coming up on the 5 o'clock report, city streets burned to the ground, but through the smoke and ash, one building was left standing. That story next after weather with Kevin Williams.
Our weekend comes in with a bit of snow in the forecast as a storm system that has brought several inches of snow today to parts of Alabama and Georgia, and Tennessee, and the Carolinas going to graze our region. Again, light snow the expectation. To the call for tonight and tomorrow, cloudy skies. Snow arriving this evening will continue overnight into tomorrow, off and on, giving accumulations generally of an inch or 2 to 4 inches across the western Twin Tiers. Low temps tonight, mid-teens to mid-20s. High temps tomorrow, mid-20s to mid-30s. Sunday, clouds, some sun, couple flurries, and high temperatures in the 30s.
All right, we'll take it. Thank you, Kevin. Finally, at 5, 10,000 structures burned outside Los Angeles, but one is still standing. Strangely, a Jewish synagogue survived when everything else on the street, the school, the library, homes, burned to the ground. These rabbis made it back last night.
What's it like to see it? surreal.
Unbelievable.
The front door scorched black, 12 feet of the floor covered in soot, but the building is still standing, nearly untouched inside.
The remnants of the Palisades is right here.
One by one, people have been coming. They have no home. They may not be Jewish, but they do have a place to worship.
This is now a refuge for the entire community, not just the Jewish community.
You could fill the sanctuary with your congregants who have lost their homes.
Correct.
Yes.
A building standing as a reminder that when everything is stripped away, God is still there.
When tragedy strikes and disaster strikes, we turn to our faith. And that's what this represents.
A gentle reminder that you are never alone. And that's the world that we live in for Friday, the 10th of January. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.